Paramount is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Brian, also known as Nerd or Nerdporeal, and welcome back to a new Chillporeal from within the Nerdporeal continuum itself. And luckily, with me, this is the long-awaited one, the one I've been teasing for several weeks now. Ooh. The one with Zaxx.
Tease me.
You're here.
I'm here.
What's up? How you doing? Thanks for being here.
We did it. Good to see you.
We did it. Yeah, I know. So man, thanks once again. I just have to ask, you've been really killing it with your streams and all that. Like you get you're getting a lot of people coming. You got high views. You're killing it. Proud of you.
Getting by. It's a lot of fun. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah. So I got a question. I know it's been. When was the last time you and I streamed together? I think I was on your channel. And it was for Lord of the Rings. It was for the anniversary. You had Georgia Giant Slayer. You had Ryan Kinnell, probably a few other people, and So I think that was the last time I was on your channel.
It might have been that. That was the 12 hours for 2 hours stream we did last year with Flaccid and Gator and you and so many other people. Steve, Prophet of the Dragon, came through there. Salty helped out a ton. That was a good group, a great 12-hour stream, and we thought about doing it again this year for Return of the King, and it just didn't line up. That really took a 12-hour stream takes weeks of prep really to put that together, and it was tough to do, and we just didn't get it done this year. It's something I would do again, but man, it was a fun thing to do, and I recommend trying it, but you really have to be prepped, and you have to be able to shuffle as quickly as you can with people, because people show up when they show up, and they leave when they're going to leave. And they're all doing you a favor by being there for you.
Yes.
So you can't hold it against them, right? So
exactly.
It's a lot of organization stuff, but it was fun. Yeah.
I mean, with all the people I've managed to build relationships with doing this type of thing, I mean, would it be possible? Sure, but like you said, it'd be a lot of work, and I don't know if I can handle 12 hours. I can barely get by. My longest stream is 5 hours, and that's me and Words of Paradise, Leon, talking about video games, because we could talk about that stuff all day. But it's a pain. Once it's over with, I'm just like, I crash, or I have to go for a walk and walk off, all the sin down, all the staying still for a while. So, but yeah. I think the last stream that I had you on my channel was before I even showed my face. I think you were on
really
Salty, Max Von Priestley. We did the Alien movies. We did the only two Alien movies that count. So
that's right. We did.
So yes, and this was before you showed I think it was before you started your channel too. This is a couple of years ago now.
That might have been, yeah. Could have been a while ago. But I think a member stream for yours once, or one of your ones where you're your 1K or 2K, or one of your celebration ones. I think I was on for a bit, but I can't recall.
Yeah, it's probably. And I did a few.
Chillporeal stream.
That's a myth. That's a myth, Zaxx.
Is it? Nos, help me out.
Don't answer that. Nobody answer that. So, but actually, I don't drink. I just drink when I'm hanging out with either Nathan or Pips or somebody. So yeah.
Your whiskey stream was legendary.
We did do one. We did do one earlier before Pips got deployed. So, I think I might have had a little too much. So
there's no such thing.
There's no, like you said, there's no such thing. Yeah. Oh, shut up, Steve. It's not real.
Steve's here.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve.
What's up? But I have to. So, how did you find yourself on this side of the internet in the first place?
How did I? So I started hanging out around some chats because I got bored of listening to podcasts, basically. And there's only so many. Is there a Bigfoot or a Yeti sighting you can really, sink your teeth into when you start realizing it's the same podcast done by different people, and it's kind of the same script, and they're reading off Wikipedia ultimately, oftentimes. So I got into more of the live stuff, the response stuff, because I liked shows like Westworld when it was good, season 1, and getting Game of Thrones. I wanted to get that immediate post-show feedback, right? And for podcasts, you have to wait for that usually until the next day, until they record it, put it out. And so listening started with that, and then I started working with some other channels, like Pop Culture Minefield was my first channel I worked with. And because I was just a guy in the chat there, and during a live show, Gary, whose channel it is, his producer kind of quit, and he was like on stream and he's kind of upset. So like, well, I could try to help you, but I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, oh, I'll show you. And then I learned backstage stuff from him, and he was great. Did a bunch of stuff for their channel, and then I met you guys. Well, met Salty, and then Prophet, Steve, and some of the White Close guys through Reddit, and through YouTube, Salty specifically, because of Wheel of Time, which was the big driver for me, because I was so excited for that show. I want to share it with my kid, my oldest, and I thought like he loves fantasy stuff too, and this is going to be outstanding to show him to watch together when it first comes out, as a week-to-week process. But then I watched the first 30 seconds and I was so pissed off. Like, and it took me 3 tries to get through to the opening credits. Like when you got past the whole intro portion where they lie to you about everything and they change the rules of the world and magic and everything.
You mean, yeah. So you've read all the Wheel of Time books?
Just the first 2 books.
Okay. All right. I'm
already at the time.
I'm already 5 books in. I think the first 3 are very strong. Book 4 has some strong points. Book 5 has some strong points, but I think it's gotten weaker for me. But that's a hot take, I know. Like the White Cloaks have been
yeah.
They've been awesome about. Everybody's been awesome about it, but I've been getting torn apart for my takes, which is fine. So, but I didn't. I watched the first season. I watched first season with the guys last year. Oh my gosh, like the changes that they made to there's 5 to Varen now. Like there's 5 heroes. They add because they had to include, because they had to include Egwene and Nynaeve now, and then there's no Saidar or Saidine. And then the whole it's instead of starting with the epic prologue of the first book with Luce Theron just finding out he murders his entire family and then he kills himself. What do we do? We see Moraine talking about like how bad men are, or men are the reason why the world is shit. And I'm just like,
they tainted. It was the men that have tainted that. And
no, it was
the first intro. The voiceover was just all bullshit. And so I had to get through that, and then I did, and then I go online, and like we all know, it's shills and just absolute like people who are trying to become shills or hoping to get that cred from them or whatever clout, I suppose, going on and just saying this is great, or it's maybe this is just a different start, or it's another turning of the wheel. Remember that one?
Yes,
it's another turning of the wheel, and it was like we were so outnumbered by people who were like this is not the same story. You've wrecked it, and that's how I found Salty, because he started putting his videos out, and like they were entertaining and informative, and he absolutely killed them every episode. He killed them, and so I started talking to him and reached out to Steve Prophet through Reddit, the White Cloaks, because I wanted to make videos about Wheel of Time, but Pop Culture Mindful didn't want them on their site because it's not really their wheelhouse is not fantasy shows, and I wanted to make shorts that were mostly making fun of it, and they said it's not really doesn't fit our theme, so I did my own channel. And the first one I did was episode 3, Wheel of Time, was it was the big chase scene where they're running away from the Dark Friend, and he leaves the Heron Blade. Rand leaves the Heron Blade behind and runs and has to be saved by Tom. And so that was the first joke video I did, and it did really well, which was like kind of shocking, but like lots of fun. And made more, and then shared them on Reddit, and then got banned from every single subreddit because I was on the White Cloak subreddit, which then just pushed you to reach out to the people on here like, what happened? Why am I banned from everywhere? Because I'd never used Reddit before, so I didn't really know what was happening to me. And apparently I was racist or something, and I got called out for being anti-matriarchy. And so I was banned from one of the bigger channels because I was anti-matriarchy, which I'm like,
what does that mean?
What does that mean? No, there was no anti-matriarchy propaganda from me, was what they said. And I was just saying, like, if your matriarchy you're trying to show us as an example means every guy's going to get killed, we're not going to buy into it. So not a good selling point on this one. Maybe lead with something else. And yeah, that was it. It was ridiculous. And so we got, so I got in touch with Salty, and he did his first live stream. It was with, Brightest Day. Brightest Day was on there. I think maybe Mike was on there too. I can't remember. I think it was Mike and well,
Mike. Mike who?
Astronomy Mike. What's his last name?
Don't know.
I'm
maybe I do. I don't know.
It's Stream Brain, anyways. But
Yeah.
they were there, and so Salty's doing a live stream. He's got like 120 people live in his thing, and he doesn't have any mods. And so I'm watching this, and like he's just starting, and that show absolutely killed it. But like because people had been attacking him in his comments so much, people were showing up to attack him on the live show. And if you don't have any mods, it's risky that they're going to say something that gets your channel taken down or banned. And so I contacted him after. I can mod for you if you want. And went from there. OBG70, there he is. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, okay. Okay, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how that came about, and started doing shows with him, and like he's the best. He's like the grand poobah of Wheel of Time, really, on this side for me. So I learned a ton from like just working with him, and not even just YouTube stuff, but just general stuff. Very smart guy, very smart group on this side of YouTube for us. We're lucky to have them all, and man, I don't know. Squeaka's here today. Hey, Squeaka, good to see you.
Hey, Squeaka.
Brandon's here. Yeah, I don't know. Just Wheel of Time was really the thing, because I was so it made me pissed off enough to do something about it.
Yeah.
Without just attacking, but I wanted to make it funny, and I tried to draw people into it, to sort of like trick them into watching something critical of the show by saying it's not on the face critical, but underneath it was, and I did, and it was working. People were liking that until I got kicked off every other subreddit. But
that's wild.
Yeah, and I did that. And we reviewed the show, and we had some amazing Tuesday streams with Salty and Purple. And it was just like, we go for like 4.5 hours, and you still feel like you're on a high at the end of it, because it was such a great show, great conversation, and so much fun. And yeah, here I am now.
Yep. now you're doing Chillporeal. So yeah, I've been
made it.
Yeah, you made it. So, but yeah, but I gotta say hello to the chat now. So let's see what we got. Let's go back, and I can't go back any further. So we have, dude. Hey, we got my
house
bro.
is noisy, so
no, don't worry about it. My fan's noisy too. My bro Dread Roberts is here. What's up? What's up, Kyle? Jay's daddy. What's up? We got a Cajun Corey. We got Belmoradin. We got, I don't know who this AC guy is. I hear he's weird. Love you AC. we got the Zaxx guy here. We got the ultimate. Like this guy knows his game. This guy knows his Band of Brothers too. Nas. I was talking to him earlier. So
don't sleep on Nas. He'll get you.
Yeah, he will. Yes, he will.
You got a Blanoli here. He's one of our Black brothers. Blanoli.
We got a prophet. I don't know who this prophet guy is. We got Gadfly, my Cerebro. Let's see who else we got. We got the man, the myth, Salty.
Yep.
We got the Squeaka Mouse. We got Cannoli, Sasquatch. We got Brandon, the anime guy. I know you were doing your own stream, bro. And I think that's it.
Salty, yeah, dude. I'd love to do that again. Like, even if it was just like even if it's just a once a year or once every whatever, but that crew of people was like, that was so much fun. It was so much great energy, and like a good balance of people, and knowledge from different places. And like, that was fun. It was just pure fun. And the chat was fantastic. Like, there was never a down second. We couldn't end a stream because there was so much stuff to talk about. We keep going on. And it was, yeah, it was crazy. But like, that crew was that was the best. That was great.
I agree. I
can't do it forever, but man, I'd love to do that again.
Yeah, I mean, I found you guys through, believe it or not, through Punkwaddle, and I started talking to you, started talking to Salty, and we just, just started doing things. And because I met Salty, I met Prophet, and because I met Prophet, I met the White Cloaks, and I met a whole bunch of other people since then. So it's been wild. It's been wild ride so far for me. I mean, been doing this. I started my channel. It'd be 3 years. I think it was 3 years ago yesterday. So. Yeah, I was just like, you know what? You want to know why I started my channel? Because everybody thought Star Trek, especially younger people, thought Star Trek was the J.J. Abrams films.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about like New Trek because at that point it just got completely screwed. It got completely fucked with Picard season 1. I didn't even watch season 2. I did watch season 3. I watched it with Prophet, and well, our reaction is pretty well known at this point. And I don't know, have you watched any of those? Have you watched any New Trek or any old Trek at all? I gotta bring Star Trek into this.
You want me to be honest or lie?
You can be honest.
No.
Good.
Not a big Star Wars or Star Trek fan. I did like the original series. I liked TNG. After that, I didn't really pay much attention to it. I liked all the movies until it got to, what was it, Nemesis?
Nemesis was the last of the TNG films.
Yeah, that was, I think, the last one I watched. And I didn't mind Abrams. I didn't like the Abrams one, but it could have been fine. But I've never been invested in that world, except for that, like where I'm from, we have like 3 channels, or we had 3 channels, and so like you were happy to see any Star Trek on at all because it wasn't the Prairie Farm Report, and so you're like, okay, well, this is good, it's entertaining, it's sci-fi, I'll watch this. So I did like it like everyone else did, but I never got into the lifestyle of it. And I was more of a Star Wars nerd than a Star Trek nerd back then when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. So you had your own like Millennium Falcon and.
Oh no, I didn't have that. I was poor. Come on, dude, I can't afford a Millennium Falcon. But I'd have like I'd make X-wing out of toilet paper rolls, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. I mean, I've actually seen a few like from the 70s. I've seen a few like fan films from that era. So yeah, it was big from the very beginning. So I mean, Star Wars, believe it or not, Star Wars was my gateway into Star Trek because I got the original when I was a kid. I was a kid in the mid 90s. I got the original trilogy tapes, the VHSs, the ones before it became specialized by a certain George Lucas. So I actually got to see the last versions of those. And because I saw those, and I used to go to the Suncoast Video and the video rental store all the time, I just kept seeing Star Trek everywhere I go. It was always on TV. TNG was always on TV. Whenever I was watching Channel 9, WGN, Deep Space Nine was always advertised. It was Star Trek everywhere. So, but if there's a show that I think is like one of the best TV shows of all time, TNG is one of them. It's got some of the best written episodes, but Deep Space Nine, if there's a show you want to follow from start to finish and you feel bad when it's over, it's Deep Space Nine. Deep Space Nine is the best, in my opinion, the best written of the Star Trek shows. It's not my favorite. My favorite's still the original, but it's the best I think it's the best written of the shows. So
you know what? Actually, I will say that I did watch that one, but not live. Like I watched it later in syndication when it was on. I worked overnights at this job, and I had a TV, so not much on TV, except for it was DS9 every night, like one after. And so I got into it at that point. I did watch, I think 3 or 4 seasons that I did quite like it, but I never, like at the time I wasn't into it.
It builds like it starts off very slow. You know, they find a new region of space to explore. Then all of a sudden there's this menace. There's this menace that is even like it's bigger than like the 3 biggest powers, the Klingons, the Romulans, and the Federation. And it's such a slow burn. It's a slow burn to the point where it builds up to a massive interstellar war. And then that war lasts for more than 1 season. So it's a wild ride, and it's got some of the best, like it's got some of the most epic. Season 6, episode 6 might be the most epic episode of Star Trek I've ever seen in my life. Like it's a fleet battle. You're racing against time. The odds are against everybody. How are they going to get out of this? How are they going to get out of this? And they do. They manage to get out of this because of, well, something that, you know, the fan or the viewer forgot about. Something that goes all the way back to the very first episode. But it was a high stakes show
because the adventure would come to them almost. It wasn't like it was a different take on how that would operate. I did like that version of it, and even though they had a black captain, I still liked him. So surprised.
Yeah, Avery Brooks. I mean,
he's badass.
What else he was in? He was in American History X. He was
Really?
I think he was the principal of the school that Edward Norton's brother goes to. So you get a Star Trek actor in that movie, and you know what's funny? Edward Norton's younger sister is Kes from Star Trek Voyager, from the first few seasons of Star Trek Voyager. So you got 2 Star Trek actors in that movie. So, but yeah, that was another movie I had to watch in college, American History X, and That was another good one. I had to write a paper on it, so it kind of doing a paper in college for that. And I actually did a paper on Dirty Harry in college too, because we were talking about violence in cinema. It was part of the inspiration for me doing my videos, my current the retrospectives I did. So, like, for instance, the Dirty Harry one. I do want to do. I'm currently working on one for 2001 right now, but that's neither here nor there. I've been kind of slow with these. So I was going to ask what about your. So you started your channel, I think, was it 2 years ago or a year and a half ago now?
I think I don't know, 2 years ago, probably something like that.
You branched off on your own, and you became. Yeah, I mean, you started. What was the first thing? What was the first thing you did on your channel?
The live streams, I did one on Thursdays. Salty helped me get all this stuff started. I couldn't have done it without him at all. So he got me going, and then we were just kind of almost random kind of topics or movies. The first one we did was on the original Hobbit animated series, because Rings of Power was bad. So
Rankin Bass, yeah.
It was. So that was the first thing we covered. That was my first live stream. It was pretty nuts. Looking back at that too, it's kind of fun, like how much you learn and how much you forget too, like that you were able to do, and people you've talked to and have come through. And it's like we have a lot of people coming in and out of our sphere over here, and it's nice to go back and kind of reminisce, to see people coming back to you haven't seen for a year or whatever, and they found their way back into the same area as you, and it's fun.
Yeah, I've had that too. I've had people, there's been people that used to come by all the time whenever I played video games, but when I started doing like Wheel of Time book club streams, people have disappeared. Some people have resurfaced, some people haven't. So it's kind of, yeah, like you said, it's the same for me. It's some people show up, some people disappear. Everyone that me and Steve got for Better Call Saul, because we did Better Call Saul after shows, it's gonna be a couple years now. I was hoping that we get the same traction like that Nerdrotic got with Game of Thrones. But the thing was, Better Call Saul was good, Game of Thrones was not. Game of Thrones caused a lot of controversy, and that's why his channel and all those other guys, their channels really grew, was because of the outrage and all that. So
your stuff did great though. Your Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul stuff, that was great.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. It was, but the thing is that all the viewers, like all the viewers, I mean, we had up to 100 people show up because of the fact that they were doing a Talking Saul on AMC right after the episode one time, and then they came to mine. So I wasn't the only one doing this, but yeah, it was all Steve. Me and Steve just had a really good chemistry, I mean, it was all because of Salty. It was all because of I think Salty was the one that recommended him to me, because I was doing I actually did a few Lord of the Rings streams. I still have not completed them to this day. This was 2 years ago. I did Fellowship and Two Towers. Unbearable 73. Matt, who's on all of them, says, "Hey, when are you going to do Return of the King?" I'm like, I don't know. when am I going to do it? So I just haven't gotten around to it. So but that's how I met Prophet, and then after that, then it's all been history from there. So I've been doing TV stuff with him pretty consistently. So I think the last thing the three of us did was, I think, the Peripheral. I think we did the Peripheral. God. I think we switched on his channel and your channel, I believe.
It was Steve's channel.
Yeah. It was Steve's channel.
Yeah.
Did like, how did you feel when they canceled it? Because I'll be honest, I did not care at all. I did not care about that. I mean, I know some people liked it. Some people liked it on Twitter that I talked to, but I'm just like, how? I'm like, I got completely disengaged from it. Like, it was so boring. I'm like, I don't care about these characters. You have to make us care about them. You have to make us feel for them or something. We have to be invested in what they're doing in order to enjoy this.
You know what though? Like, it's worse because the first two were so good. The first two episodes were great, in my opinion. And they were movie quality stuff, great, well written, good effects, like everything kind of tracked. We got good looks at all the different characters, where they could come from, and we had her brother, who was like, had his special ops team with him all the time with their cool tech, and what a group of badasses they were, to the point where they could take on people from the future. And then they just, like, episode 3, we had a little bit of that, and then by 4 they were all gone. It was just it was mostly like, the girl, the key to everything, and her redhead friend, and it was nonsensical after that. And after being so good to being so bad, in like 2 or 3 episodes was insane, especially 4, where they just dumped the whole secret after having it be a mystery box for 3 episodes. They just explain it to you in exposition form. The whole jackpot event and how that worked and how that affected everything. It went from great to terrible so quickly, and then it got silly by the end. And there's people who defend it, but they're wrong. So
I'm trying to remember. I remember there was one point. There was something they talked about instead of showing. There was one where the guy was like, I just went and offed my other self in another time in another was that I forget what the jackpot was. Was that what was that? You can actually travel to a different dimension and kill like your alternate form in that other dimension.
The jackpot event was like a whole series of events that he used to basically cull the population. So it wasn't just one thing; it was a layer of a bunch of events that, over time, ended up. Most people died, and then the people who were still alive, they could inhabit other android bodies, which was one of the things that was so stupid. I'm going to get into this. I don't want to get into this too much. But
don't worry about it.
You would have your main character. She would then time travel to the future into one of her androids' bodies. There's shell waiting for her, and it was like that body would be at like a bus bench.
Yeah.
So how long has that thing been at the bus bench for? Who brought it there? Because it had nothing to do. And there's a couple times that it was in a guy's bedroom. And so what are we saying here? Like, what was this guy doing with his doll? Well, she was somewhere else and it had an empty shell. Why is it in his bedroom? Just stupid shit like that.
I don't know. Sorry I brought up the peripheral. I'm really glad that I'm glad it was canceled.
She got to walk in and talk to the chief of police in the future.
Yes.
And no one knows who she is. There's not even a secretary to stop her, nothing. She just walks right into the desk and tells her how it's going to be. The chief of police in future world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm like, was that? And I was like, who is this? This actress is the chief of police. I'm like, what is this? So I'm just like, I could not suspend my disbelief. And then he had broken. And then of course, Prophet and his broken glass. He had that assassin. I think he only lasted a couple episodes, and like, he should have been dead.
Well, they made him extra super competent, and then they made him a retard.
Yeah.
Like the next episode. So why are you doing this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, just either be consistent or don't even bother. Like,
and there was one episode they wanted to they want to blow up a fish tank. And that's all it was about. They had to find ways to get them to a situation where they blow up the fish tank. And sure enough, they blew up a fish tank. Like, that was it for me. It's just, no. It was so bad. And I know AJ's not here right now, but, that's his girl on that show.
Oh, Chloe Chloe Grace Moritz.
He likes her much younger though, like when she's much younger. But.
Yeah, I first saw her in what was it? Badass, I think was the name of the movie. The one with Nicolas Cage. So I saw that, and I saw she plays Carrie in the latest. They made another Carrie movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that the 2013 they made a remake of Carrie. Stephen King. I watched it and I was like, eh. I mean, it was like the second adaptation in a decade. They made an adaptation. They tried to make a TV movie, a pilot for a series in like 2002, where Carrie actually survives and goes on adventures with her telekinesis. I don't know how that would have worked, but they never made that show. So, but yeah, I mean, what's up, Trip? We got, the original Carrie stream. Me and Pops. By the way, Pops has been watching original Star Trek. Definitely check out his videos. I've been liking them, and it's fun. It's fun watching other fans of other stuff getting into the original series. Original series is still my bread and butter. So, yeah, Zaxx, if you ever watch the original series, let me know.
You should. Have you ever been on Klobby's show ever? Klobby and
Raquel? I've never been on Klobby's show, but I had Klobby on my show because I covered the Orville. So I did an after show while Better Call Saul was on. The Orville was also on too. The New Horizons. I actually invited Klobby a few times. So yeah, Klobby is definitely a future guest. I've never been on his show. Never been invited, but I definitely want to have him on to talk some. Definitely want to talk some truck with him and Raquel. I like Raquel too.
That you'd be in your element, dude. They
Yes.
love it as much as you love it. It's cool.
Oh, they probably love it more. They've probably been fans longer than I've been alive, and they probably know way more than me. So it would be awesome for me. I'd be like learning so much and everything. So
But dude, that's great about you is like you love it unabashedly. You love it, and that's so it's extra energy you bring to it to other people. Like you'll get people to watch it just because you love it that much. Like, what am I missing here? He loves this much. It must. I'm going to try it again. So I think that's great that you carry that with you, and that's kind of you always bring up Star Trek. I've never seen you on a show and not mention Star Trek. Some way we're going to come around to Star Trek for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and some people are like, hey, how's this make you think of Star Trek? Well, there's ways. There's always a way. So
Yeah, true.
but yeah, I was gonna ask. I don't think have you covered any video game stuff? I don't know if video games is your wheelhouse at all or anything. I know they've been like my buddy Dred Roberts has been covering like the whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing.
Yeah.
It's wild, just like it's just wild how like there's just a lack of self-awareness in the people that are running like you said, like you had the issue with the White Cloaks subreddit, and now you have all these community managers of all these different games saying bull crap about things, like I don't want to get too political here, but they're saying nonsensical things and people are just calling them out on it. So
I followed the story actually quite a bit, but I don't really do. I've done some video game stuff where we talk about like some of our favorite games, like we did a Red Dead Redemption 2 stream, things like that, because the story for that is so good that it transcends gaming to me. In my experience, anyway, I think it's one of the greatest stories ever put together in a format. Have you played it?
I have played the original Red Dead Redemption. I love that game. It's the ending is okay. I've only played a little bit of 2, so I'll have to keep playing it.
Yeah.
I love the first game. First game is my favorite Rockstar game. But you know what's funny is my current favorite video game of that genre, that type of open world genre, and because I'm watching Shogun, it makes me think of it quite a bit, is Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is such a beautiful game. Like like you're this guy. You're on a Japanese island. The Mongols have taken over, and almost every village has been conquered by them, and you have to basically drive them out. You're the prince of the island, and you have to drive them out. And the island is big, and it's beautiful. Like the land is beautiful. You do all these missions. Do all these you climb all these climb all these mountains. Do all these challenges and all that. It's a lot of fun. And seeing some of the stuff in Shogun, seeing some of the shots, like seeing some of I forgot that, like they have like those little posts that you can walk through. It's like a gate, looks like a gate or something like that. I forget what they call those. They have them in Ghost of Tsushima. Makes me think of that game, and just yeah, I've been really loving Shogun. I know you've been talking Shogun. Have you seen the original? Now I knew it existed, but I never watched it. Have you seen the original 1980? Shogun?
So for Ghost of Tsushima, my kid played it. Actually, I watched him finish it. He loves those games. He's good at them. I'm not. So he said, "Do you want to try it?" I say, "No, I'm good. I'll just this one." And so I watched him beat that game. It's a beautiful game.
Yes.
And then for Shogun, I did watch the original miniseries, but I don't remember anything about it. Like it was a very long time ago on VHS, like in the 80s is when I would have watched it. So I remember having seen it, but I remember nothing about it except for Richard Chamberlain being the most gay straight guy ever. With a solid beard though, of his beard game at some point. And so I had great hopes for this because of the people involved in it. And it just every week, it's just a banger. Like, I don't know. It's so good.
What else have I know this is a husband and wife team. I know this is a husband and wife team that's running this current Shogun. What else have they done? Do you know? Have they done anything else?
I believe they have, but what got me excited about it was Hiroyuki Sanada. He plays Lord Toranaga, and
he was in season 2 of Westworld because they go to Shogun World. Yes. I'm curious. Now I was thinking about that earlier. I'm curious if they thought of doing HBO was thinking of adapting their own version of Shogun. That's why they incorporated it into Westworld season 2. I'm assuming that probably wasn't the case, but I don't know. It's a conspiracy theory. Yeah.
at the time, but he's outstanding as an
Yes.
actor, and they let him be involved in the creative aspects of the show because he knows the history of it, and so based on that stuff right away, and then I watched the first episode, and then I watched the second episode, and then I look forward to it every week to the point where I'm watching. I have Disney Plus for free here. Don't worry, I don't give them the money. I get it for free in Canada because that's what we do here.
So it's on Disney Plus in Canada, not on Hulu like it
We
is
don't, we
here in
don't
the
have
US.
Hulu here, so
Okay.
All the Hulu FX stuff is all on Disney Plus for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's like the last place I think I would
me too.
look for Shogun of all things. I'll
Because
say this about Shogun: like I'm loving the politicking. I've actually learned quite a bit. I had no. I mean, this is obviously fictional. This is James Clavell's novel. I think he was
yep,
British Australian. He was a prisoner of war in Japan, and basically he writes this book. And I was talking to AC, Angry Canadian. You know, him and his wife were watching it.
yep.
His wife was laughing at the show because she's like, "Oh, this is not what happened. Why are the men under Toranaga have like beards like that one guy
Mm,
Yabushige,
yep,
for instance?" I
yep.
mean, I know they're trying to like channel their Toshiro Mifune because
Oh,
you know that's how he
yeah,
was back in the
yep.
day in Kurosawa
Another
films.
legend too. Yeah.
Oh, dude, like he was the original. And I can't wait. Once the show is over, I'm going to watch the original Shogun. I can't wait to see how Mifune plays
Toranaga.
Toranaga in that one. So I'm assuming it's going to be balls. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be insane. But what was I saying? The other thing was the how do you feel about the way the women are portrayed? Now I know
Mm,
like women. From what AC told me, the women are they're treated like they're treated badly back in that day.
sure.
So here,
I wasn't
it's
there.
kind of like okay because so there were some concerns about maybe some girl boss ishness or
Yes. Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. So I was just curious on your thoughts on that.
Um. Yeah. You know what? I had some of those concerns from the trailer, and I talked to Gray about it, and he was excited about this show too, and he knew more about it than I did coming up, and he also, it's been getting good press in Japan, which is a good sign. And so he kind of like backed me off on those concerns because there was just the one scene that looked a little bit weird. It looked like Mariko was going to be taking on like 10 people with this pole arm of hers. And that was like, it's just going to be the entire show because in a trailer, generally you only show things that will, take place over the course of a season, not just, one instance. But that seems to have just been that one instance. So
Yeah.
I thought it's good. It's great, I think. And they have more agency, I think, than the first time around. But I mean, I, there's nothing I don't like about it.
I
So I
I
can't
I
find
mean
anything to pick on.
yeah, I know there was some concerns that maybe what's his name Blackthorn was kind of being pushed to the side or something. But I'm actually really happy that they have a younger actor playing a really based role, not playing some weak simpleton type of deal. I personally feel it's nice to have a character younger than me playing a strong character, playing a strong male character because nowadays we don't get any of that.
Yeah.
So but
I
like
think
go ahead.
for him, hey, David, they did a good job with this too because I think with his character, people were they picked up the scene where he's creating a distraction because Toranaga's trying to get out in the litter, and he's switched place with his wife so he can sneak out, and he creates a distraction to make them not check the litter anymore. And people were upset saying he looked like he's like it looks really overacted, but like that was actually done perfectly for me because you have this character who's acting. So this is not the actor doing a bad job. This is that character who's not an actor trying to act, and that's what he looks like when he's trying to act. It's over the top and it's weird and it's loud and obnoxious because that's what he was trying to do. So I can't find anything I don't like about it. The one thing that changed in this, like I know a little bit of the history of it.
Mhm.
Not an expert, but they've done well. They Toranaga's son, that doesn't happen like that in real life. So, and he was a more of an important person. He does die young, but he dies as a result of a battle that he won. So a very different
So
exit for him
he
in
didn't
the
get his
show.
head. He didn't get his, spoiler. He didn't get his head smashed by a rock. He didn't
No,
slip and
he gets shot in
fall.
the
And
head. He gets shot in the head,
okay,
and he survives, wins the battle, and he dies over time because of that same wound. But yeah, and he was the person who actually fired the first shot in that battle. He led that, and then he took a bullet in the head, but lived for a while longer. So this is kind of like and he was very brash, and all that stuff is true to his real life, but he wasn't dumb. And this guy
yeah.
he's kind of goofy in this, I thought, but fine,
He
whatever.
was manipulated. I mean, he was manipulated by Yabushige's nephew,
Yes,
and then Yabushige's nephew was manipulated by one of the tea girls. I think one of the tea house girls or
yes,
something.
yeah,
So one thing another thing I do like about this is that like women are portrayed more, I think, more accurately, because I mean they still were players. They generally whispered poison in the dude's ear,
yeah,
in the men's ears, and that's where the men got their, some of their more wicked ideas, especially in the world of politicking and all that. So but like one thing that really surprised me was the Jesuits being there. Like the Japan would have been the last place I would expect, especially with the five regions. I mean, I don't know how true all that is, but two out of the five regions are Christian. I was blown away by hearing. I don't know if that. I don't know. I'm assuming that's not the case. I mean, I have not checked on the actual history of the church in Japan. So I do know that when the Tokugawa shogunate, which is basically Tokugawa was basically the real
Toranaga.
version of
Yeah,
Toranaga.
yeah.
Um, when he ultimately takes over Japan, I think the Catholics are all expelled. I think that's what I think is going to happen.
I think that's right. I think that like my history of Japan goes back to like the Nobunaga's Ambition video games. So that's kind of like my that's where I'm. So I know who these guys are just from those games.
Yeah,
I love those koi strategy games. But yeah, I think that is what happens, and it's crazy how they've taken almost not one to one, but very closely adapted people from history and put them in this show in this setting, and it really comes alive. And I didn't know much about Japanese history, so I didn't know the church was involved there that early. And I know the restrictions on gunpowder and firearms and stuff was more of a daimyo top-down policy because, well, people don't have guns, they can't really uprise against you, right?
yeah.
So, but it's cool to learn about it this way, and the fact that it's done, like I've only ever watched it with subs. I never tried to do it with dubs. You are forced to be in it the whole time. You can't check out on your phone.
Nope.
Even if you think you maybe you would otherwise, even though it's a great show, you still get tempted, right? You can't. You have to be in it all the time. And that last episode last night, where there's that tea ceremony,
Hmm.
like I was pulled into that tea ceremony. How? Like I should not be interested in a tea ceremony, but it was fantastic the way it was done, and you're like on the edge of your seat to see what's going to happen with this tea. Well, she's going to drink it, but you're there
Yeah.
you're there for it, and yeah,
I forget. Was that the same scene with where what's his name? I forget his name. The husband of what was her name? Noriko.
yeah.
The her
Buntaro
tra-
was making her this special tea.
and he's just like, "Hey, wanna join me some in a way?" And she's like, "No, no,
Oh yeah, yeah.
no. I would rather live 1,000 lives than do this with you."
Yes.
Dude,
So
that was savage. That was scorched
yes,
earth. Like this character of all, he's fighting everyone. Like at the end of, what was it, episode 3, when they're escaping
yeah,
Osaka, and he's fighting everyone. I thought he was gonna die. Spoiler alert. He survives, and he's like probably the most masculine character,
yep,
even though he gets drunk a few episodes
yeah.
later, and he's like, I want to die, blah blah blah. But like he whimpers and cries after she leaves. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not see that coming at all.
No, they did a good job though with his character
Yes,
because at first you're like, this guy's an asshole because he,
yes,
he seems like an asshole, and he did some asshole things, and he
yes,
was abusive for sure. But then like you can also see that there was an entire person there. He wasn't just a stereotype of these things. He he did love her, and she never loved him, and he could never win that, and so he tried to, you know, earn it however he could. And there was no way he could do it. It was always that was a battle he was always going to lose.
Yeah, and he, I mean, we find out that it was him and his father that kept her alive. You know, he married her so that she wouldn't have to, you know, commit seppuku with her father, because her father was, you know, her father killed a bunch of people, and then the whole family except for her had to go through the seppuku with that. So,
well, her father killed Nobunaga. Guess what? His name was Kuroda in the show. But
yeah,
that's who he killed, and yeah, that's a bad person to kill. But
yeah.
It was, and Toranaga was involved in it. He just wasn't he wasn't holding the sword. So you come to appreciate where Buntero was coming from, and she always wants to kill herself. Everyone in the show seems to be wanting to die, and so he wouldn't let her kill herself. And then so he finally gives her this gift, which he thinks is a gift of we'll go die tonight. She's like, nah, like I'd rather live 1,000 years than live one more or to die with you. So, I mean, yeah, the dude really has nothing to show for it. They have no children. They have nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
back up the boys. Yeah, that's right, Nuss.
Yeah, and then I think then the next scene with Toranaga and his guys, and what ultimately happens, he's like, okay, we're gonna do this, and they're like, no, we survived, we fought long and hard for you to give up on us. And then his what's his name's father is like, if you go through with this, I'm going to commit seppuku. And then he does, and then we I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, so what he did there was he took one for the team, because he knew that the other generals were all speaking up now, and that this wasn't going to settle with just him. So he took that, being that he's the person who's most likely to affect Toranaga, and also it saves them from having to do the same thing, because if not, they would have all died. Because if they don't follow him, they're going to be executed right there. And so he did that. He took that for them and for Toranaga in a sense, and it's all part of his plan, sort of. And I kind of thought that was what was happening, and I assumed that Blackthorn was going to be involved in the final Crimson Sky attack on Osaka, because if you have some ships and cannons, that's pretty useful to use against a city. They can't fire back.
It's gonna be the next week's episode is gonna be nuts, because I looked because Hulu already has it up, has the thumbnail up, and has like the little one sentence synopsis, and they're gonna be fighting for their lives to get the hell out of. They're gonna deliver the message to Osaka, and then they're gonna get the hell out of there. And it's gonna be a fun one. Next week's gonna be a fun one. I think the finale is gonna be the battle, or the Crimson Sky, or whatever that's gonna be. But did you know that I don't know how this would be possible, because, you know, Shogun, once again, everybody knows, based off of a book. They're talking about making a season 2.
They can't.
Are they really?
Like, who said that?
So this is I got an article up right here. This is comicbook.com. Let me share this really quickly. So, all right, Shogun editors address possibility of season 2.
Don't do it. Stop.
And then, so they're talking. There's. It's like, it's not so much the question. Blah blah blah. Disney Hulu pursue a second season. It's based off of a book. Blah blah blah. And they're going into all this, and they're asking this question right here: will Shogun get a second season 2? And I think one of the editors says, "I'm definitely feel very proud of the work we've done. The time complete, we're done cutting. There wasn't really a mention of any serious plans for season 2. I think we're kind of at that still. So." They want a season 2, but no. I think this is just the media, or the access media, getting very overactive on this, and they're doing this to create like, it worked on me. I clicked on this, so I clicked on this, and
the thing is like that this is the best show on TV right now. It's been the best show on TV this year, easily, I think, for me, and I think for a lot of people too. It's up there. It's loved by critics and fans. The numbers are good. So there's a lot of pressure to do something with this now. But he's also done other books. There is a sequel book called Gaijin. And it's set a little ways away from this one, but you could do that if you want to. But I don't know how you do a direct sequel to this. And I don't think that would be a good idea. There's nothing there. Or
Yeah.
Taipei is one too. I think it's called Taipei, and it's
Yeah.
based in Hong Kong. Similar idea with the British in Hong Kong. You can do that too. Do a different book.
Taipei doesn't it, Taipei's in Taiwan.
That's right.
Taipei's in
Taipan.
Taiwan, so wouldn't they be in Taipei? Wouldn't they go to Taiwan or something? Like that I was curious. Did they do one about the end of the Did Clavel do one at the end of the Tokugawa shogunate, which is kind of what the Last Samurai with Tom Cruise kind of covers? You know, you go from Tokugawa shogunate to the the loyalists that support the emperor. So instead of the emperor once again being a ceremonial position, the emperor becomes a position of power again. Or maybe it's the first time it ever became position of power, and then becomes known as the Empire of Japan that ended World War II, obviously. So
Well, he has an Asian saga, or the series of books. Shogun is number 1. Number 2 is Taipan, and that's Hong Kong. And then 3 is Gaijin, and that's
Taipan. I thought you said Taipei. Sorry, my bad in the first place.
And then Gaijin is 3, and it's
Okay.
that's a sequel. I don't know if it goes right up to the end of the Shogunate. I don't know, but I have never read it. But you could do those instead of
Yeah.
making more of this.
Yeah, make it like an anthology. I mean, like
Yeah,
what they're doing with
exactly.
frickin' Fargo or something.
Yeah. If it's great, then it's great. If they could do another season, it works out fantastic. Then fine. But I just never seen it. Just doesn't seem to work that way.
Yeah, just get the same people and have them, adapt another book. I mean,
Sure.
obviously they're passionate about what they're doing. We got some great visuals, we got some great dialogue, it's a great adaptation. I want to see
Yeah.
more from these people. I'm just hoping they don't, fall
Mm.
short like some other creators have done, so speaking of other creators that started really big and fell short, have you watched any of the Three Body Problem, Dan and Dave's
Yes.
show? How is it? I know Prophet didn't like it. I know Salty didn't like it, but I've heard some people on the White Cloak side, like Trip and LPK, really enjoy the series. But I'm curious what your thoughts on it are. I haven't watched it myself, so I have no opinion.
It starts off really interesting and it ends off really dumb. And
Oh,
the final episodes were so and I didn't have anyone else talking about it at the time. I watched it pretty quickly when it came out. And so this is my own, it just was boring. But at the end, I'm skipping through just to get to the end because there's nothing interesting happening. I don't like any of these characters at all. And we're talking about 400 years in the future at this point. And
yeah.
everything was so conveniently tied back to this main core characters. It was comical, and they've had this big expensive plan, which the process of building it to that was also boring. And so they get to the final plan and it happens or doesn't happen properly, and it's the end of the show. And yeah, I liked it a lot until I would say halfway through, and the last half was a downward slide to the point where I was skipping ahead. I just
Oh,
couldn't sit there and watch it anymore. There was nothing I cared about in it at all. And my favorite character dies fairly early, and apparently he dies early in the book too. But he's one of the better characters in the show, and he's interesting, and he's gone. And then then the best character left over is probably the villain or one of the other villains, who was the character who just for the show, and she's interesting, but I didn't like any of the heroes. None of them. They're all unlikable by the end.
I have to highlight this.
Yes, Salty, thank you. Yeah,
What did Salty say?
he knows.
Oh,
It had potential, and they really I bought in because it was a really interesting concept, and all these starting it off with communist China and how that's not a good thing. And I thought that was kind of cool, but it did not. Yeah, I'm sorry, Trip. It was just bad. It was bad. By the end, I wanted to like it. I did like it. They brought me in, and then I was out.
now did this cover the entire first book? Because I know Three Body Problem is I think a trilogy, 3 books, I believe.
No idea.
Okay,
I'm not going to
all
find
right.
out either. I don't think. It just, man, it had so much potential, and they really could have done this in 6 episodes. It would have been probably much better.
How
They,
many?
they,
So what they do? 8? Was they do a typical 8 for this
I
one on
think
Netflix?
it's 8 or 10.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Um, it,
Because
it,
you would think Dan and Dave. I mean, they did such a good job adapting the first 3 books of Song of Ice and Fire. I mean, I don't think they did did much justice for books 4 and 5, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But you would think, with a book they would be able to adapt it well and all that. So I don't know if it's because of, as would say, current day, and all the practices that they have to follow now, that begins with give me a D, give me an E, give me an I, and all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if that was a big deal. I know, like, I think they like sex swapped like the main character or something.
She was hot though, so Aldan's right. Like the main character, the boss bitch, she was hot. So I would go with that. But like she keeps her clothes on the whole time. So
Hey, one thing I'll say about Shogun, at least we got to see something. We got to see some. We got to see some. The male gaze was active, somewhat active in Shogun. So there.
Oh.
So
yeah, I didn't like the character's trip, and I didn't like the conclusion. But I was intrigued early on. I just didn't like where it went, and I didn't understand really the initial villain that what's her name, the her father is killed early on, and like I never really understood what happened with him and her life motivated her to do what she did, and then to defend it for as long as she did. And there was one really cool scene, set piece that was that nanofilament stuff was pretty badass. That was a cool scene. So I'm glad they did that. I've never seen that before. It worked really well. I just I wanted to like it, and it just didn't hold my attention. And the cancer guy was nice, but he was always going to be on his way out the whole time. You knew that. And that other dude is like the black guy. What's his name? Sam? I think his name's Sam. He became more unlikable as the show went along. I liked him early on, but by the end, he's an asshole.
did they bring anyone else from Game of Thrones besides Sam, John Bradley?
Well, the Onion Knight.
Davos.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Davos. What about did they bring like the Hound? Because I know he's
No,
they didn't bring the Hound.
there may have been, but it would have been like a smaller part, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, give it a try if you like. It's a different attempt at sci-fi, a different angle. I did like the originality of the ideas of it, just the way it was resolved. It didn't keep my interest, and I don't want to spoil the ending for people, so I won't say what happens. But it was kind of like a fart in the wind at the end.
Yeah. So I first heard of the book because I watched that 70s Rock fans. He made a video. He made a video about that book. It was because he's read a lot of science fiction, and he's actually told me about some movies to watch. Like I watched A Boy and His Dog from 1975 for the first time.
Yeah.
I never heard of it before, so good movie. Messed up but good. And I watched his video about the 3-body problem. It got me intrigued about possibility of an alien invasion, and it was a trilogy. So
it's a really cool concept. It's like it just in the way they applied it. Some of the stuff is really hard, maybe harder to do on screen, although China apparently did it well on their own. They have their own series of it. It doesn't for me. It really dragged. I didn't like anyone. I didn't even want us to really win. And there was things in it, like this really cool concept, like the VR stuff Tripp's talking about. That was cool. And now then, I'd love to have that VR thing. That was pretty amazing. But what was the point of it? Like, what were they doing with it? And if it was to find people to help them, it didn't work. And so, like, what was the purpose of that in the first place? What were you hoping they could solve for you? They did a whole like medieval Japan thing where it was like he turned these soldiers into abacuses, and then they all dehydrated and rehydrated. It was just like, I don't know. It's cool, but then it has nothing to do with anything after that. It's just a cool thing that happened. So, it didn't go anywhere.
So they're just playing the cool thing, and it's not really part of the story.
Trip.
So. Let's be civil in the chat. So, all right. So, okay. So so that means I probably I might watch 3-body problem. I'll probably put it much later than I was originally planning. So, but I gotta ask, what's some of your favorite shows? I know where this is going to go. So I know right now I have Rome is on my list because I know I was listening to your stream and Lady B was bringing up Rome. So I have not watched Rome. I know the guy that plays Mance Rayder in Game of Thrones plays Julius Caesar in that one. So I've heard nothing but good things about Rome. I know it got canceled.
Yeah.
Yes.
It needed longer than 2 seasons, but one of the good things about it is it's a time in history that we know a lot about already. Like it's not like you can't find out what happened with Julius Caesar. Like we kind of know where it goes over time. And the Roman Empire everyone loves the Roman Empire, right?
Yeah,
Do you talk about
everybody thinks about it all the time.
I do. I actually do though. It's kind of a fun thing to think about. And they did lots of good stuff and some like
E2,
minor
Zaxx, E2.
bad things, but eventually I'm gonna get my reparations from them, I think. Because we all probably will, right?
Yeah, we were all conquered at one point, so yeah.
But if you're looking for like okay, so if you're looking for an obtuse sci-fi thing to get into this year, I liked Constellation a lot more than I liked Three Body Problem.
Constellation, is that on Apple?
Apple TV, yeah. It's
Okay.
Nomi Rapace, good cast, and there's a lot of shit going on in it. It's got Mike from Better Call Saul. He's one of the other co-stars.
Jonathan Banks.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jonathan Banks, I think I hear a signal right now. I think I hear. Where the heck is it? Here it is.
I want to do it.
You're done. You are done.
There you go.
Every time someone subscribes, I have a bunch of shots of him in Beverly Hills Cop, so yeah. Okay, Constellation, definitely.
It's interesting and it's pretty in depth and it's a bit of a mind bender, and I don't know if it comes together enough in the end of the season or not, but it's still interesting. I liked it better than Three Body Problem. It's just but we should have high standards. Apple TV has done some good stuff recently. Masters of the Air was good, not great. But
I started that.
last two were rough. They were pretty rough. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I saw the first episode. I really liked what I saw. I saw, so now that I saw Band going into Band of Brothers. So Band of Brothers was on my list for the longest time, and I told you about this before we started. My dad had the series. I saw what opened my eyes up to how war is, especially going into battle for the first time, was Saving Private Ryan. I was in 7th grade when they came out, and I saw the opening, the D-Day invasion, and oh my god, dude! Like I was just like, I never saw anything. Like I was shocked. I was shocked by like how war was depicted. And that's because that's how it should have been depicted in the first place, if you ask me. And after that, it set a standard for me of like what I thought was a good war movie. Because for me, a good war movie or good or something or anything, anything with the war genre, I think we need to feel the fear, the terror of going into battle, like the soldiers, especially the soldiers that are in the front lines do, and all that. So I actually got some of that from the movie Dunkirk. I don't know if you've seen Dunkirk.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I got some of that from Dunkirk, especially because the beginning of the movie, he's running, the main character is running from the Germans or something. So, and then they're trying to get out there. So it was, but yeah. And then 1917 was another good one that I saw that I got that same vibe from. But what really was like, what really showed like the true, like, the true hardship. I mean, I saw the Pacific years ago. So my friend Brian, who was in the chat earlier, I borrowed his DVDs for the Pacific. I saw the Pacific first, and everyone's like, why the heck did you watch the Pacific before Band of Brothers? I don't know. I'm an idiot. What can I say?
You're not. It's just where you were at the time.
Yeah. So I hung out with Prophet last year. I hung out with him, and we went over a list. He gave me a whole bunch of shows to check out. So I scratched a whole bunch off. I scratched off, The Wire. I scratched off, what the hell is that show called? I can't think of it now.
Did you touch your no place at all, Steve?
That's private. No, of course. But Band of Brothers was one of them. So I was able to I finally got around to watching Band of Brothers this month. So and plus, having you on, and I know you had a wonderful adventure dealing with because you put up Band of Brothers content on your channel.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I figure
love Band of Brothers. It's my favorite thing ever. Sure.
Okay. Did you watch it when it first came out?
Well, yes, I did. Like I was a little bit behind on it, but yeah, I did catch up by the end of it. When it first came up, it was harder to watch them because I didn't have HBO, and it was like early internet really. Like not, but it was like it was not what it is now. So yeah, finding copies of it was not as easy as it would be today, and finding good copies was even harder.
Yeah. I remember watching the first. I remember watching the. I've seen the first. Now the first episode I've seen a billion times. I've seen it throughout the years. And of course the one character I recognized most was obviously David Schwimmer from Friends. He plays what's his name, Sobel.
Yeah,
My God, the
it's
guy was a complete prick in that
yeah,
episode. And like they're in Camp Toccoa, and they have to continually go up they have to continually run up 3 miles up the
Currahee,
Currahee
yeah.
mountain, or there was a mountain or hill or something, and then they got to run down. And that Jagoff decided to, hey, the boys have been working hard. Let's feed them some spaghetti. They all get fed spaghetti. They're all gorging on it, and then he makes them go and do another run right after that. And they're all like throwing up while they're doing it. I'm just like, wow. But
But
one
he
thing,
loved he saved their life, like
yeah,
because
because he
he
put them
did
through
that to
hell.
them.
He put
Yes,
them through hell. So,
yep,
and I think Winters himself has said, the real Winters has said, if it wasn't for him, there's a possibility that none of us would have probably made it out of that.
yeah. He did build, the best units and with his style, and he was not a coward either. Like it's been like there's controversies because the story had to have people in it who were villainy, or like they were not all heroes, because there had to be conflict early on, right? So how has to be
Yeah,
conflict, and so someone had to wear that, and so he did. But in real life, that wasn't what he was like. So there's, because these are real people, it's a bit sticky in that. While his survivors like, well, my grandpa wasn't actually didn't do any of that stuff, and it's true he didn't. And there's people who in the show they also showed as being cowardly. Someone else who had a psychotic break, and that also wasn't really what happened. And they've had people die on the show who didn't die in real life, who
oh really?
yeah, complaining that, well, he didn't actually get shot there. But it's, you have to still tell the story. I thought they did a great job of balancing those things out to make it interesting, keep it going forward, and showing us the elements we had to have for a complete story, plus using history. I thought it's perfect, almost
Yes.
more
And
gross, but
yeah, like
okay.
Stephen Ambrose wrote the book. Yeah, he basically collected all this, this, all the sources and everything, and wrote the book and everything and everything. And I'm liking. I really liked what I saw. Like it was like the like episode one. It was funny, especially when they trick Sobel into doing something. The guy pretends he's like a major. He's like the
Yeah,
commanding officer. He's like,
yeah.
hey, what are you doing? Go over there or something. And then he obeys, and they're like, what the hell are you doing over here? And then he gets in trouble. And then you have a bunch of other people. Then they go years later. I think I don't know if they're in the UK at that point, but they're like, we're not going to follow this man to battle. He's fucking things up.
Yep.
We've been dying and drills and all that. So they're like, yeah. And so they get rid of him. They have him reassigned somewhere else. And I was surprised because I thought he was going to be a bigger character in the show. He's not. He only comes back like once, and he
Yeah.
doesn't salute Winters. And at that point, Winters was over him. Like he was still captain. Sobel was still captain, and Winters was major and everything. So,
You salute
and
you
Winters like,
salute the
dude,
rank,
he's
not the
like,
man.
you got to salute, bro. You
Mhm.
know, I thought that was awesome.
That was great.
And I like how he begrudgingly did it too. I was like, yeah. So
Yeah, man. It's a must watch, and it's a kind of show that like I watched with my son, and specific to it, I watched with him as well. But you like as a parent or adult, I mean, be t- be careful whose neighbor's kid you borrow. But like kids have to be forced to watch this stuff because they don't learn this in history class. This actually
no,
did happen. These people
yes,
gave up all this so that we could have what we have now, and it's
yes,
totally forgotten. And
yeah,
it can't be.
no,
This stuff has to be told, and these stories are being retold. And think of how many thousands of stories have never been told that didn't come back. And so we have to carry these forward. Like this has to happen. And they did a fantastic job. I don't think they could do it now, but what they did then is it's truly special. The casting was done brilliantly, and everything from their training on, they kept people separate. Same thing with Saving Private Ryan. Actually, was the same thing. Was it was Matt Damon wasn't allowed to go to boot camp with the rest of the cast, and in this same thing with Captain Sobel, he wasn't allowed to go train with the boys. They did boot camp, but he wasn't allowed to go because they had to be bonded and he couldn't be in real
yeah,
life, and so that was bled into the show.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. You can't.
So that's why you saw like there was a distance between those actors, because they I mean they're not supposed to like each other. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like I love, like, you know, them going to the Brecourt court and taking out those artillery things, and then they're in the plane and they're jumping out, and like it gets it just like, and then like you seen other planes getting shot down right away, and then they're all separated and all that. I was just like, oh, I hope everybody gets back together and they regroup, and then they could, you know, fight some Germans and all that. And like one of the most powerful moments in this show, I forget, I think this was episode 5 or something. There's a point where Winters himself gets up and he sees a young German, and he just like they're looking at each other, and then he makes the first move and shoots him and everything. And I don't know if this, I was thinking of the World War One book, All Quiet on the Western Front, because I think there was a similar scene where the main character gets trapped with in no man's land with a French French guy. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember what ultimately happened. I don't remember if one killed the other. It's been a while. So the thing is, like, you know, one thing that I loved is that it's never simple. Like, you can't just, it's not a simple war is bad type of thing, which is, I mean, honestly, I'm sick of that type of theme in current shows, because war is never that simple. I mean, one thing that the soldiers, the men did, especially, they did what they had to do. I mean, they were doing their duty. And I mean, like, and I know, one thing that I like about the Wheel of Time, especially in the earlier books, is that they talk about, because Robert Jordan, you know, fought in Vietnam and all that, he talks about like in nature of duty and doing what you have to do. Perrin Barra talks about doing what he has to do. Matt Cawthon has to do what he has to do. Randall Thor, the three Taveran, have to do what they have to do. And it's very powerful stuff, because like the other side, they're doing what they have to do too. So if that means offing the other person, you know, I mean, it's part of their duty. I mean,
I think
it makes you think. It makes you think.
It does. And you know, some of these guys did things that they wouldn't want to have to do. And people like Ronald Spears, who's like ultimate badass in real life, did more, and he did some stuff that you would consider to be worse or more controversial in real life than they showed in the show. Even though people see him on the show and think there's nobody who would do that, or he was a monster. No, he did actually more stuff like that than we know about, that he admits to, that he doesn't brag about, but he's like, well, I did it. What are they going to do to me now? His attitude, like, I'm old. And like he executed a sergeant in his own group on D-Day on the beach, because he wasn't following orders. He shot him in the head, and he was drunk. Like, so he did all that stuff and more. And it was because of men like him that we managed to win a war. And even though sometimes we took more loss than we needed to, and it was messy and gory, but you have to have someone like that.
Yeah.
And the approach that they did on, I think it was episode 2, where they take out the 88 guns, the artillery.
Yes.
On D-Day, that's Max Priestley was saying that's how they teach that same attack style today for the Marines. That's their plan to use now.
Yeah, like they teach. I think they teach it at West Point. They think they teach it amongst the branches and everything.
Oh, cool.
So I was looking this up. I was looking up this battle and everything. So it's But what's up, Sherry? Mark Clark. By the way, but the most powerful scene, besides the final thing that Winter says, the real Winter says, the was episode 9, when they discover the concentration camp. Now, I've seen Schindler's List. Remember the sequence with the girl in the red coat, and they're shooting, they're murdering Jewish people and Poles. Excuse me. Sorry, thinking about this is, and the same with I know Roman Polanski is real life, for what he did, he's a piece of shit. But I mean, here's another fucked up thing. If he didn't, flee and do what he did, he probably would not have made The Pianist, which was based off of his experiences during the Holocaust. And that movie was a movie about survival. And that movie brought me to tears too, because Adrian Brody lost his entire family. Like, they were all shipped off to Auschwitz on the train and all that. And the first thing you see is everybody's gone. There's a shot of him walking towards the camera, sobbing. And all the luggage of everybody that was gathered there, everybody's gone except for him. The policemen, those Jewish policemen that worked for the Nazis, they owed him a favor, so they yanked him out and covered for him so that he wouldn't be herded into the train himself. And then the rest of the movie was about him hiding and trying to survive and everything. And then it was just one of the most heartbreaking things. And then a Nazi gives him a coat and doesn't shoot him because he was playing Chopin, because he was playing Chopin in a house and all that. And then at the end, when the Nazi was captured and rounded off, he asked, like, whatever happened to Spielman? And he's like, oh, Spielman's fine. And then Spielman tried to look for him, and he was gone. The Nazi guy was gone. So I'm assuming he was probably killed or something, executed or something by the Soviets. So
it's a complex thing, right?
Yeah,
it was complex.
But seeing their reaction to it, and seeing the soldiers' reaction to they're like, why'd you come back? We're like, we don't know what to do. We found this. And then everybody, they bring all the higher ups, and they're asking, like, what the hell happened? And this one prisoner, they're all wearing Stars of David. The guy was sobbing. The guy was sobbing. Like, I couldn't escape a dry eye myself. And then the thing that was interesting, and this is something that I should have thought about, when people are in starvation mode, you cannot give them food.
No,
because the electrolytes in food will shock them, their system, and they could get heart failure. They could go into seizures. So that's why they had the surgeon there say, do not give them any food. You're going to have to, and they had to, and the heartbreaking thing was they had to put them back in the camp because they had to keep them in a controlled environment and everything. It's just, oh my gosh. Yeah.
It was, yeah. If you can get through that entire series, Band of Brothers, all episodes, and not shed a tear, then I don't know. You might have to ask yourself some serious questions.
Yeah, well, how did Nas put it when he was talking to me? He's like, if you don't at least shed a tear, you're a psycho, so you're
Pretty
a
much.
psychopath or something. Or so.
Honestly, though, like, all of it. And then, yeah, Winters, when he's talking about, like, serving with them, he served with, and it's like they couldn't do this stuff now because those men unfortunately have passed on, and those real life people were part of this production, and they got to know the actors who played them and their families and all this connections, and there's so much heart in that series that you can't replicate that now, unfortunately.
No, you can't. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was the very final thing. Now, by the time I was born, both my grandpas passed away. They were deceased by the time I was born. So, but they both served in World War II. So when Winter's final things, he says, I forget if it was his grandkids or if it was someone else's grandkids that he was recounting, saying, Grandpa, were you a hero in the war? And then he's like, no, but I knew the men I served with were heroes in the war. And that just, I mean, beside the fact that I didn't have a grandpa to tell me war stories, but just the fact that, the humility behind him and the rest of them, I literally, the thing when the final credits went to for episode 10, I was like, oh my gosh, this show, my God, this is so good. I mean, I've never had a show do that to me before. Like, this is, I mean, it might be, I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite show of all time, but it's definitely episode 9 with the concentration camp was probably the most powerful episode of television I've ever seen. I've seen a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that one. I think 7 was my favorite episode where, that's what
was that one because Boston? Was that the one in Boston? Or the one where they were being pummeled by artillery in the forest, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and Spears has to run all the way through the village to the other side and then comes back.
Yeah,
that's in that episode. And we look at the show, it's amazing how much happens in an episode. Like, it's an hour long, and like you're taken through an entire story, and It's only been an hour, and it's hard to believe how much they fit into that.
I know.
But yeah,
it's a beautiful show. If you haven't seen it, sorry sorry I spoiled it, but it's been out for 20 years.
We won. So
yes, we won. And yeah, and everybody's here. Thank you for being here. I know Zaxx is the rock star here, but Zaxx, tell them why they should hit the bell for notifications.
You don't want to ever sleep on Nerdporeal, because the worst thing is to wake up to a Nerdporeal. So be alerted.
You heard it straight from Zaxx right here. So, but yeah, everybody, thanks for being here. Zaxx, thank you for being here. This was a great stream. I know you got a lot of stuff to do, so I appreciate the time, and I thought this was a great conversation. I'd love to have you back on because everything has to have a sequel now. So Zaxx, like, are you my father's brother's cousin's innkeeper's former cousin's former roommate or something like that?
Probably could be. We can go on a trek to go find out how we're connected. But
yeah,
we talk about bravery and stuff, so that's great. And these men were heroes, whatever. But Nerdporeal goes walking around Chicago at 2 a.m. with his headphones on, and he comes back. Like, how is that? I mean, that's something special.
You know, what's funny is last couple of weeks I've had to do because I'm in between jobs right now, so I'm doing some DoorDash delivery. I somehow went from being on my side of the city, north side, to the south side. So I've had to, yeah.
Working the south side of Chicago now too.
Yeah, someone on the south side ordered from a restaurant up here, and I'm like, I didn't bother to check. I didn't check the mileage. I was like, but hey, I survived. So I drove. I didn't walk down there. So, but let's just say I had to deliver stuff to them personally because they were too afraid for me to leave it out because they probably would have been stolen or something like that. So.
See you, Gray.
Oh, Gray's here. Yeah, definitely want to talk to you about Shogun when we get to it. So yeah, two more episodes. So can't wait. I can't wait. It's getting up there. Zaxx, anything you want to promote?
I'm going beyond shortly. I'll be over with Diabolical Souls talking about Scavenger's Reign, which is an animated series where I'm reviewing. I'm not 100% sold in this show. It's really weird.
What's it called?
It's called Scavenger's Reign.
Scavenger's Reign. I'll write that down.
It's an HBO animated series. Honestly, it's a bit weird for me, but I'm still gonna. I think I'd have a balance of people on this.
How's the art design? How's the animation? Is it
I like
decent?
The way it
Is
looks.
It ugly?
The story. I think Salty's watched some of it too. It's just like it's so wacky, and like it's almost like you kind of need to. I think you might have to be on some kind of drugs to really dive into it because it's so weird. But it's the animation is great. It's French style animation. It reminds me of like a heavy metal style ish. Not exactly, but I think that's what they're going for, and it's wild though. Good. Do peyote and watch it. Good stuff. Yeah, Scavenger's Reign. It's interesting, and I'm gonna stick with it because people say give it a chance, and you have to try to like. I don't want to just talk about things that I like or things that I know are great or I'm gonna love every time, and it's good to have a conversation where someone else really likes it and why, and I can say, well, I'd like this but not that, and we can have that conversation because we're nerds and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of Chillporeal, just having nerdy conversations, meeting the person halfway in good faith. Yeah. Because I mean, let's just say a lot of people now don't do that. So
Spine of Night, Salty, yeah, it's much better. Spine of Night is straightforward better for sure. A film, not a series. But Scavenger's Reign, it's interesting. If you're looking for something different, give it a look. You might like it, you might not, but you have to see it for yourself. You'll know in the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
Really, yeah.
So I got three. Okay, so I got three things I wrote down. I wrote down Constellation. I wrote down Spine of Night, thanks to Salty, and now Scavenger's Reign. So all right.
Tomorrow, 9 p.m. Central, we're talking about Shogun.
All right, cool. Yeah. Definitely. Everybody, if you're new here, I'm sure everyone's already subscribed to Zaxx. But if you're not subscribed to Zaxx, and hit his bell for notifications, so you get notified whenever he's doing stuff. Because YouTube does not notify people, even if you're subbed. No. YouTube is going to still push people you're not sub to, much bigger channels than who you're actually sub to. So make sure you hit the bell and hit notification. So, all right, but yeah, once again, Zaxx, thanks for being here. This is not the only Chillporeal this week. I'm doing another one in 2 days on Thursday. So, this one was to make up for, because Zaxx couldn't make it for personal reasons and everything. So Thursday. Yeah, so once again, I really appreciate it. So Thursday, we're going to be having Chillporeal. My guests will be revealed in the outro, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And Wheel of Time Book Club is going to come back. I still haven't figured out when. It's probably going to be a week from Sunday. I'm starting Lord of Chaos, which is book 6. It's the high point of the Wheel of Time series, so hoping that book is much better than the last 2, hopefully. And I'm still working on my 2001 Space Odyssey retrospective. I've been taking my sweet time on that. I want to get that done so I can move on to other stuff, other video projects. And so everybody, thanks for being here. Zaxx, thanks for being here. You were awesome. I definitely want to have you on for part 2, like usual. Yeah. And any final things you want to say?
Stay Chillporeal.
Stay Chillporeal, everybody. Have a good night and stay safe. And let's see who's going to be on next time.